Hey, Skull Nation. What's up, you purple-blooded warriors? It's your die-hard Vikings fan here. Fired up and ready to dive into the hottest Vikings news that's got my heart pounding like a Brian Flores blitz. Imagine this. Fresh off that gritty 21-17 grind in London against the Browns, our boys are storming back from the bye week, eyes locked on a monster showdown that could flip the NFC script. But hold up, who's slinging it under center? And can our ground game roar back to life? Stick with me, because this Vikings vs. Eagles preview is about to explode with drama, stats, and that purple pride we live for. Who's ready to break it down? Let's charge. Our Vikings roll into Week 7 at 3-2, and man, that London win over Cleveland feels like rocket fuel after a bumpy start. We clawed back from deficits twice, with Carson Wentz threading needles for 285 yards and 2 scores. His best since jumping ship to Minnesota. But here's the intrigue that's keeping me up at night. Rookie phenom J.J. McCarthy, sidelined since Week 2 with that nasty high ankle sprain against the Falcons, is back on the practice field this week. Coach Kevin O'Connell dropped the hint on Monday. McCarthy's limited but looking sharp, and if he ramps up, he could snatch the reins from Wentz for his second career start. Skull, can you feel the electricity? What do you think? Fam, McCarthy time or Wentz revenge tour against his old squad? That bye week wasn't just rest. It was a reset. O'Connell had the squad dissecting film from those early stumbles. A 17-6 hole against the Bears in Week 1, that ankle twist in Atlanta, and now we're humming. Defensively, Brian Flores' crew ranks top, 10 in points allowed at 20.8 per game, sacking QBs 18 times already. Offensively, though, we've averaged 24.6 points, but the run game's coughing up dust without Aaron Jones, who's nursing that hamstring on IR. Enter Jordan Mason, the 49ers cast-off who's exploded for 112 yards on 22 carries in his last outing. He's our spark plug now, and against Philly's middling run D, yielding 4.5 yards per pop, Mason could feast. Purple rushers, rise up, drop in the comments. Who's your pick for MVP in this backfield battle? But let's zoom in on the signal caller saga. It's the heartbeat of this Vikings resurgence. McCarthy, our Michigan maestro, flashed in Week 1 with 197 yards and a score before the injury bug bit. Now, with Wentz steady at 3-1 in starts, 65% completion, 7 TDs to 3 picks. O'Connell's playing it coy. JJ's progressing, but Carson's our guy unless what? A full practice explosion that screams, I'm back. Wentz, facing his 2017-2020 Eagles squad where he balled out for an 11-2 start before that ACL tear, smells blood. Stats don't lie. He's top 15 in QBR since joining us, and with Justin Jefferson as his security blanket. More on that beast next. Revenge could taste sweet. Fellas, if McCarthy starts, does he light up the dome? Hit me with your hot takes below. Speaking of Jefferson, our WR1 is a walking miracle, back-to-back 100-yard games despite the QB carousel. Against the Bears, he torched them for 118 yards on 8 catches. Then in London, 105 more with Wentz slinging it his way. That's 223 yards over 120 snaps without a consistent arm, efficiency off the charts at 13.9 yards per catch. JJ's not just stats. He's soul, dancing in the end zone, hyping the crowd like the king he is. But against Philly's secondary, ranked 22nd in pass yards allowed, can he hit 150? Skull Nation, you're the experts. How many TDs does Jefferson snag Sunday? Let's debate. Layer on Jordan Addison, our speed demon slot guy, who's quietly racked up 412 yards and 4 scores, third in the NFC for rookie WR production. With McCarthy's mobility or Wentz's cannon, this duo could shred. Remember Addison's 172-yard breakout versus the Lions last year? Philly's corners are vulnerable without that elite shutdown guy. And our O-line, despite the patchwork, shout out to Ed Ingram stepping up, gives them time. But here's the rub. We've converted just 14% of red zone trips to TDs this season, 4th worst in the league. Fix that and we're unstoppable. What adjustment does O'Connell make to punch it in? Your thoughts, Vikings faithful? Now, flip the script to the trenches. Our D-line's been a wall, but Sunday's where it gets real. Flores schemed up 5 sacks on Deshaun Watson in London, with Jonathan Greenid, team-high 4.5 sacks, leading the charge. We've held opponents under 100 rush yards in 3 straight, but Philly's Jalen Hurts is a dual-threat nightmare. Already 412 rush yards and 5 scores. Can Harrison Phillips and Levi Drake stuff the box? I'm sweating it, but Flores disguises have QBs peaking wrong 28% of the time. Skull defense, roar louder. Who gets the strip sack we need? Secondary story. Our DBs are ball hawks. Byron Murphy Jr.'s 2 picks lead NFC corners, and we've forced 9 turnovers total. Against the Eagles' pass-heavy attack, Hurts 68% completion but under 220 yards lately. We can swarm, but their weapons, Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, are matchup nightmares. Still, our zone coverage ranks top 8 in passer rating allowed. Vikings fans, predict the turnover total, over or under 2. Diving deeper into the backfield blues. Aaron Jones on IR hurts, but Jordan Mason's stepping up big. The guy's a 235-pound hammer, 4.8 yards per carry lifetime, and in his Vikings debut, he bulldozed for 68 yards on 14 totes. With Jones out at least another week, Mason owns the rock, and our schemes evolved. More outside zones to hit edges. Against Philly's run D, mid-pack at 118 yards allowed per game, he could eclipse 80 yards easy. Who's with me on Mason for 100 plus? Comment your bold call. But it's not just Mason. CJ Ham's pass pro chops open lanes, and we've schemed in Ty Chandler for speed bursts. Total rush attempts, up 15% post-buy per O'Connell. Last year, we ground out 142 yards versus Philly. This time, with Flores teeing off on 3rd downs, we control the clock. Imagine a 10-minute drive sealing it late. Pure purple poetry. Ground game gurus, what's your ideal carry split? Across the field, the Eagles limp in at 4-2 after that brutal 34-17 smackdown by the Giants. Their worst since 2023. Jalen Hurts faced ghosts. For sacks, 2 picks, and the O-line crumbled. They're still NFC East Kings, but 2 straight LS scream urgency. Hurts pressure rate, 38% the last 3 weeks, yikes. Can our pass rush with 18 sacks already feast? Skull, you tell me. Hurts under 200 yards? Saquon Barkley, the ex-Giant who torched us for 143 yards last matchup, is in a rut 325 rush yards on the year 3.4 YPC number 100-yard game. But stats scream bounce back. Our run D yields 4.5 YPC, 8th most rush yards per game. If he explodes for 120 plus, we're in trouble. Eagles fans invading the comments. What's Barkley's ceiling Sunday? Philly's air raid leans hard on receivers when the run stalls. Devonta Smith's silky routes, 482 yards, 5 TDs. A.J. Brown's contested catches, top 5 in YAC, and Dallas Goedert's red zone snipes. Hurts targets them 55% when trailing. Expect a barrage if we jump early. But our corners? Murphy and Stephon Gilmore, veteran pickup, blanketed Devontae Adams last week. Lockdown time. Who shadows Brown? Your pick. Eagles' Achilles? That pass rush, down 3 edge guys from free agency and retirements. They're dead last in sacks, 9, and QB hits, 42. Josh Sweat solo carrying it for sacks. But our quick release game, Wentz's 2.6-second average, exploits that. Flores will audible protections to gash him. Purple pressure, who's getting home first? History bites. Eagles lead 16-15 all-time, owning the last 2. A 38-21 rout in 2022. Then 34-27 last year with Hurts 301 total yards. But home at US Bank? We're 2-1, averaging 27 PPG in the dome. Revenge fuels Wentz, his Philly scars run deep. Skull historians, does the past predict pain or purple payback? Setting the stage. Sunday, October 19th, kickoff at 1 p.m. Eastern Time from US Bank Stadium, 53 degrees. Roof closed, 66,000 strong chanting Skull. Fox broadcast with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman calling the chaos. Tailgates fired up, horns blaring, it's NFC royalty clashing. Who's bringing the louder energy, Vikings or those green invaders? Odds tilt Philly's way. Eagles -1.5 favorites, total 43.5. Moneyline minus 125. But ESPN Analytics gives us 51% win probability. Underdog bark with bite. We've covered in 3 of 5 and post-buy squads win 60% historically. Value on Vikings plus 105. Bettors, what's your play? My bold call. Eagles snap the skid. Barkley busts loose for 110 yards and a score. Hurts carves 250 total. Philly flies out 27-17. But don't sleep on us. A McCarthy spark or Jefferson bomb flips it. Hart says Vikings steal it. What's yours? Predict the score in comments. Global Skull. NFL Game Pass on DAZN's your ticket, live and on demand for all 335 games. Playoffs to Super Bowl. 25% off now. Folks, download the app on your phone, TV, tablet, Apple TV, Roku, PS5, you name it. Email signups free. Upgrade for HDR Super Bowl views, Multiview Madness, Red Zone Thrills. Ultimate Tier, Game Changer, Manningcast Alternates, Offline Downloads, 5-device streams. No US or China blackouts, worldwide purple paradise. Who's streaming with me Sunday? Tag a buddy. Wrapping this hype train. Vikings Nation, we've got momentum, mysteries, and a must-win brewing. From McCarthy's comeback tease to Mason's grind, this is our story to own. Smash that like if you're bleeding purple. Drop your Eagles smack talk below. Subscribe for daily Vikings news drops, and share with your crew. Let's flood the feeds. Skol Vikings on to Philly payback. What's next, fam?